on the table, people forget, significant cuts. He put on the table tax cuts for 98% of Americans, for small business. The Republican Congress made a decision. They didn't want to work with him. But he's still there. After all the filibusters, after all the super PAC money, after all the birther smears, he's still there. I think now the better angels in the Republican Party can come forward and look at some of the stuff he put on the table earlier. But you have to remember, he's also strengthened. The Republican Party has now shown itself to be in this demographic cul-de-sac. They cannot win another national election until they reach out. So there's pressure on them also to reach across. And I think that's good for the country.
The Republicans, Mary, as you know, retain the majority, a decisive majority in the House of Representatives. So where do you see bipartisan?
That's my man Wolf.
If at all?
I'll hear this shit.
No, certainly not initiated by this president. There's no record of that. Van is completely wrong. It's completely erroneous, and he was there when, I believe he was in the White House, when the president said to Eric Cantor, who came with all the Republican ideas in hand, elections have consequences, Eric, and I won. He didn't include any of those Republican ideas. He had majorities in both chambers, and he jammed through his own agenda. And his campaign was marked by malice. His campaign was marked by malice and mendacity. It was full of derision and division and destruction and distraction and distortion. I don't see how he can... And how anyone would trust him, even Democrats, too. He has no mandate for anything.
Well, I think it's not true he doesn't have a mandate. He said very clearly that he thinks that people who make more than $250,000 a year should pay more taxes. 60 to 70% of Americans agree with him on that. So I think he has a mandate for that. The other thing I think is that, you know, he also was the victim of a lot of really nasty, I think, offensive attacks on him. We went through a dark, ugly period in American politics the past 2 years. My hope is that we'll get past some of the vitriol now. He is still there. The Republicans are still there. The problems are still here. And there is common ground. And I think we've got to recognize that the president is sounding the right tone. Frankly, Mitt Romney sounded a much better tone, frankly, than you just did, Mary. I think people want to come together now.
Well, Mary, let me ask you.
You know why, man? Because Romney is a gentleman.
Hold on, Mary. When you say the president doesn't have a mandate, he did win a majority of the popular vote, and he won decisively in the Electoral College, especially if he wins Florida. And we haven't made a formal projection yet on Florida, but he's slightly ahead in Florida. So why do you say he doesn't have a mandate?
What is his mandate? What is his issue mandate, Wolf? Free contraception? Penalizing rich people? For the revenues he raises from that will kill jobs, and it won't reduce the deficit.
A balanced approach.
That doesn't have anything to do with deficit reduction. Van, that's what he said. It was a campaign of platitudes and pap, and it was divisive, and it was destructive. I don't care what you think, Van. And he did not have any issues mandated other than free contraceptions and taxing rich. He's the only president who has his president in history has a lower re-election margin and fewer electoral votes than his first time around. He won in a squeaker by running a tactical campaign.
This is the spirit that you're showing, unfortunately, is exactly what I think we're trying to get away from now. I think the Republican Party has to make a decision. Does it want to be a permanent minority party that has this sort of vitriolic tone, or does it actually want to try to find common ground where it's there? This president put tax cuts on the table, 98% tax cuts, rebuffed by the Republicans. He put on the table tax cuts for small business this past year, rebuffed by the Republicans. So I think the Republicans have an opportunity to go back and look at those earlier offers and say, you know what, Mr. President, we'll take you up on that. They don't even have to move from their own position. They just have to vote for their own policies.
All right.
This president's been championed.
Very quickly, Mary, because we got to go.
What? It's 4 years of distortion, division, derision, and it's going to be 4 more. But luckily, the House of Representatives and Romney laid out a foundation for a reform agenda going forward, which will be grounded in the House of Representatives. I'm proud of Mitt Romney. He's a gentleman. He was courageous. He ran a campaign of conviction, and he should be proud of himself, unlike the Democrats, who really, really have excelled at the politics of personal destruction.
Well, I think you're going to get a debate on that from a lot of people, Mary, but we unfortunately have to leave it right there. Mary.